So Michelle Bradford is an English instructor and teacher trainer who currently teaches English for academic purposes at the University of Waikato Joint Institute at Hangzhou City University in China, where he serves as the reading and writing course leader. He previously served as a virtual educator with Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev in Ukraine. And additionally, Michel has worked as a transnational tertiary programs in China for several years, as well as taught in the US. In that capacity, he has worked with local teachers to introduce innovative teaching techniques and theories. Michel obtained his MA TESOL from the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China, and is currently conducting doctoral studies in TESOL with the University of St Andrews, Scotland, with a focus on the challenges and copying strategies of EAP teachers at Sino foreign tertiary programs, along with teacher training and development. His research has been related to EAP, AI, virtual education, and intercultural communication, for which he has published articles in both English and Spanish. Michel has given teacher training workshops and presented research throughout much of the world, having presented in Cambodia, China, Thailand, and the US, and as well as virtually for conferences in Qatar and Spain. So welcome, dear Michelle, to our Thursday webinar again, and thank you for your collaboration. Now I will give the floor to you. Thank you so much.
Cool.
And
Thank you so much. All
yeah,
right. Hey, you
thank
guys.
you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So I was here 2 weeks ago, and here's my second time. So if y'all saw me last time, cool. So this one's gonna be a little different. Last time we talked about AI. This time we're gonna be talking about intercultural communication in ESL, EFL, whatever you want to call it. Sweet. And same as like kind of like last time, we're gonna do a little things in the chat group, in the chat box, some little discussion kind of stuff. And then later on, we're gonna do a couple of Padlets that are gonna be try to be interactive. But cool. So me again. If you have WeChat, there's my WeChat. If you have Instagram, there's my Instagram, whatever. But yeah, a bit about me. So I'm from Newingburg, Arkansas, in the U.S., in the South of the U.S., down here, a little small farming town. Um, as Ganor told us, I am in charge of the writing course at my university right now. I'm actually going to be moving on to another university next semester. We'll talk about that next time. Yeah, I'm doing my doctorate in TESOL, University of St. Andrews. There's their logo. It's a pretty cool thing. And there's my email, and I'll show it again later with some of my other socials if folks want to get in touch with me, like if you want my slides or if you have any questions about anything like that. Yeah, totally just get in touch. All right, cool. Let's look at what we're doing today. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Oh, thanks to see that. I want to say I'm great with AI. I don't think I'm great with anything. I think I'm just okay. I try. All right, so for this workshop, so we're going to talk about what is culture. So we're going to look at what is culture. And then we're going to look at cultural differences, between East and West, essentially. And that's quite interesting for me because I'm from the US. I grew up in the US, and I didn't really go abroad until I was 18. And then since I was 22, I've been mostly living my life in China. So I've been in China for like the last 10 years. So I've been able to experience both those really different cultures. So that's really cool, interesting, as well as other ones around the world. But yeah, we look at cultural differences, and then we're going to lead into intercultural miscommunications, and then pretty much different cultures interacting, and there's some kind of miscommunication, and then we're going to look at what happened, why did it happen, what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again. With those kind of things in mind, then that leads into things that we can teach our students, and then we'll have a final word, a nice little summary. Okay, great. So we would discuss in groups if we're in person, but hey, we're doing this one online. But same thing. But pretty much plug into the chat box. So just in the message, or if you guys want to turn on your mic, that'd be really cool. But what is culture? What are some things that make up culture? Pretty much if somebody asks you, like me, if I ask you, hey, what's culture? What would you use? What would you say that this thing is a culture? This is an example of culture. What is culture? Like, yeah, just what is culture? So let's go and plug into the group chat, see what we got. Hi, Mukadam. Nice to meet you. I wish I was a professor. I'm not a professor yet. Maybe one day. I'm just a lecturer right now. I think I'll probably become a doctor before I become a professor. But cool. But yeah, let's do about 2 minutes, maybe. See how everybody plugs stuff into the chat box. But what is culture? What's that mean to you? What are some examples of what culture is? Let's set my timer on my phone. Anybody got any ideas? In culture, with culture, within culture, yeah, totally. But like, what is it? Is it music? Is it the way people think? Is it your attire? What is it? What are some of those like things that we can see or we can sense or you can feel? Like, yep, that's a different culture.
Mhm. Can I just share my opinion?
Yeah, go for it. Geez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
according to UNESCO description of culture, culture is something that that describes a set of belongings to a group of people and identify, some specific aspects of that group. And it can be referred to any kind of group. It can be nation, it can be just, country, it can be just, some kind of location. But at the same time, culture can be both tangible and intangible.
Right, yeah, totally. Nice. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Awesome. So with it being even, it's not just national, it can be national, yeah, but it can be more than that. It can be, ethnic stuff. It can be regional as well. So like I'm from the South in the US and we are quite different than people from the North or from the West, oh, California. Stuff like that. In some good ways, some ways are maybe should not be totally proud of, but still we have our own unique culture in the South. You have this between the country people. Usually you have this like rural side, urban side. So it's quite complex. But anyway, usually this is when people fire off stuff like food and dress and holidays and music and festivals. Um, and then that's usually that kind of stuff that is, I believe what Nasiba said was like kind of tangible, is like stuff that you can see, that you can touch. It's more what's called surface level culture. So that's, food, language, flags. Oh, flags are so interesting. I love flags because like there's so much meaning behind them if you actually look at them and get to know the flags of a country. What's fashionable? Why is fashion? Holidays, music, performance, dance, arts and crafts, literature, the games, even the games are quite fun because like the games that they play here in China, the kids will play are different than the games that I grew up playing. Look at Squid Games. If you guys watch that, there's games in there that I'd never heard of, but they're very popular in South Korea and stuff. So those kind of things are surface level culture. Now with this, and those are quite easy to teach because oh, if you're having a day about Mexican history or Mexican culture, you have Mexican food. If you're having a day about Chinese history, Chinese day, you're gonna have Chinese food. And you're gonna do stuff with the chopsticks. You're gonna do stuff with the dragons. That's very cool. That's very easy. We're gonna go deeper. We're gonna go into deep culture, and that's looking at different kind of communication styles. So the idea of like how do you express your emotions, the concepts of beauty, of time, differences about different roles, gender roles, class roles, family roles, attitudes towards people of different ages, attitudes towards animals, notions of being a good leader or being, um, nice and what's a friend. So we're gonna look at kind of this stuff today a little bit. We're gonna go be a little deeper with this because this is where it gets a little bit more difficult, and this is where communication really starts, and this is where you have lots of miscommunications. Cool. All right, now this is usually where I like to start local. Of course, me being in China, usually I'm with folks who are Chinese. If I'm in, I did this one time in Thailand, so I had people from Thailand, people from China, people from Myanmar, people from Malaysia. So that was a cool little mix. But for this, with you, I feel like most of y'all are in Tajikistan. What are some of the characteristics of your country or regions? Like if you're in East versus West versus North or whatever, if it's a little bit different from the rest. What are some characteristics of your country or region's culture? I have not been to Tajikistan. I think I'll come sometime this fall. So that'd be cool. But yeah. And also, does your country or region have different kinds of cultures? So, and then pretty much y'all can unmute yourselves. You can use the group chat. Just tell me more about your culture. Um, and let's do this for, I don't know, a couple minutes. But yeah, tell me about Tajikistan or wherever you're from, if you're from somewhere else. And then I'll share some stuff about China and stuff.
Well, dear participants, yes, you can unmute yourself and don't feel shy and share about your cultures as well.
Yeah, no, you guys tell me about yourselves and stuff. That'd be cool. Anybody, or does everybody just want to be quiet and then me just talk the whole time? Which I can. I think it's kind of boring though. But
Okay, yeah, Tajikistan has, I think, like kind of rich and unique culture.
uh,
And one of the characteristics of this is hospitality. Like Tajik people are known for being very welcoming and they are very generous to guests. And family and community also very important in our culture. Also, respect for elder people is deeply valued. And also,
mm,
we have lots of traditional music, dance, clothing that are like kind of still part of the everyday of our life. And especially Nowruz celebration, which happens every year in March, 21st of March. And also, we have Tajik cuisine dishes like plov, kurtob, like sambusa, and these all like kind of reflection, like kind of they have cultural roots, and we love sharing these meals with our guests whenever. And also, we have a kind of great like poetry, literature, which is well known everywhere, and especially the works of Firdausi and Rudaki. So they are very popular, and Sino as well in medicine. So I think
mm,
all these like build a kind of rich and unique culture of Tajikistan.
cool, awesome. Yeah, hopefully I get to check it out sometime. All right, sweet. So let's move on. So for me, so one thing that I do usually in China and stuff is I show folks like different cultures inside of China because one, China's huge, but also has lots of different minority, it has lots of different ethnic groups, and there's also ways different kinds of people, and so it's pretty much just different in different parts of China, and sometimes even within the same province, you have different cultures, like many different cultures. But anyway, so pretty much, and this is kind of southeast, southwest China, really, really cool. Oh, these are all pictures I took myself, because I've tried most of it. Here's out in Tibet in Qinghai province, so you see more of the Buddhist influence and stuff like that. Yak curry. So yeah, that's the yak, which is really, you don't see that in the east of China. That's really cool. Northwest, this is, of course, where you get closer to places like Tajikistan, like Afghanistan, or like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and stuff like that. So you have more of a Muslim kind of population and stuff. And that was really interesting to go with my wife, who is Chinese, but she's never been out of the east of China and being able to see, people who are being in places where people are majority Muslim and stuff. That was really cool. Northeast, you get more closer to Russia, a little bit more Russian architecture. The food's really different. The accent's really different. I mean, you have a synagogue, you have church. There are churches in China, but yeah, no, it's quite interesting and cool. Around Inner Mongolia, of course, more grassland, more yurts. Very different kind of there. And then this just other parts, you see different influences from other places. So German architecture, British architecture, Portuguese, traditional kind of Chinese bed. But anyway, just show diversity within a country. So don't assume like one country is one culture kind of thing, especially like in places like China or like the US. Okay, great. Now we're going to move on to a little thing called East meets West. So we're going to get into how different cultures do different things. This right here is called East meets West. And pretty much it looks at China compared to Germany, and let me explain why. Pretty much it came from this lady here. Her name's Yang Liu. She's an artist, visual designer. She works at some university now in Berlin. Yeah, she's a professor at an art university in Berlin. She's quite cool. She was born in China. She moved to Germany when she was around 16. So she grew up in China, moved to Germany when she was around 16, and experienced both cultures and how they were really different, you know. And then in 2007, she did a project where she made 47 little infographics, which are pretty much just a nice little picture that shows difference. And the idea is like they show the difference between Eastern and Western culture, for her, China and Germany. And Germany, man, it's a little bit different in the US, but still Western culture tends to be kind of more similar than compared to the Eastern culture. But yeah, so she did 47 of these pictures, and I like using these in my classes, in my cultural classes, or in workshops I do with teachers about cultural stuff, because it's a very cool way to see it and you can talk about it and stuff. Anyway, pretty much each picture has a blue side, which is Western culture. For her, it was Germany, and the red side is Eastern culture, and for her case, it was China. And I live in China, so it's pretty much Chinese culture for me. The Eastern and Western culture. And they look kind of like this. So this one's about lifestyle. Of course, so blue is Western culture, red is Eastern culture. They're not all the same, and there's a lot of variance, but still pretty much overall, this is what's typical. Um, so pretty much in the West, like I'm from the US, we are very independent. We like to do stuff by ourselves. We value individualism. So like my mom has not paid for anything for me since I was in high school. My mom and dad did not pay for my college. I paid for it by myself. I had scholarship and stuff. I was all by myself. And now that I'm older, I don't give my parents money. They're on their own. Everybody's their own person. Whereas in the East, everybody's is much more interdependent. It's much more collectivist. So my wife, her parents supported her until she got her first job. And then once she got her first job, she started paying her parents money. So now we give her mom and dad money to help with them and stuff. You also see this with movies. So this is quite interesting with movies and stuff. So the very popular movies in the US are stuff like Iron Man or Captain America or Spider-Man, whatever. One person can save the world. Um, yeah, that's how we as America think. One person can make a big difference. Eastern culture is very much everybody works together. So a lot of Chinese movies are about a team, like a team of firefighters or a team of pilots or something like that, and they do something together or stuff like that. Um, but yeah, you see this with living style, you see this in movies, you see this in just how people act. So sometimes maybe the US thinks folks from the US could be seem kind of selfish, whereas in the East, people are usually not selfish. And if you're kind of selfish, you just think about yourself, you're kind of frowned upon. That kind of behavior is frowned upon. Um, so yeah, these are what these pictures look like, these infographics. Um, Cool. So now what I would like to do, usually what I do if we're live and in person, or if you guys want to try this out in class, here's how I use these in my class. Pretty much I break my folks into groups. Each group gets an East meets West picture. There's 47 of them. I usually use maybe eight, maybe four, depends on what I want to do. Each group gets a picture and you discuss with your group. What do you believe it represents? How do you think it might impact a multicultural classroom or a multicultural workplace? And how it can be overcome? Like what can we do about to make sure that, communication stays smooth or, things that we can keep in mind so there's not miscommunication. Each group does a nice little 2-minute presentation to another group. I give them about 5 minutes to plan and discuss. In your group, you got 5 minutes to plan a 2-minute presentation. And then you want to include time for the other teams to ask you questions and say what they think about, your picture. Because each group's gonna have a different picture. Cool. There's my nice little Pokemon teamwork, which I do love. Okay, great. And then this is kind of how I would have the groups. So like group A would talk with group B, group C with group D, E with F, G with H for about 2 minutes. And then they switch. So F with E, H and D. And then you can switch the groups up. Like A would be with G, H would be F with C, D with E. Those kind of multiple kind of rotating kind of groups. That's what I like to do. I usually do stuff like this whenever we do presentations in class. Okay, great. But for us, because we're doing this on a computer, we're gonna do this with a Padlet. So there's a QR code for y'all to scan, and I'm gonna put this link in the group chat as well. Come on, there we go. And yeah, and then you can just take that and we'll go out to our Padlet, which is this, I don't know, this one. There we go. Cool. So here are our instructions. Blue is Western culture, red is Eastern culture. Comment on each picture, what you think it represents. I didn't make these myself. These are from Yang Lu. I have her website later if you guys want to check out her website. But yeah, so these are four of hers, and we already looked at one, so there's a fifth one. But what does this represent? And you guys can click on the picture and stuff, and you can see what it is. Um, and how can this impact a multicultural classroom? Now, it's a little bit small to see exactly what they are, so let me go ahead and type in what they are exactly. So this is, it's called the boss, but it's also pretty much authority. Uh, cool. Authority. This one is handling problems. This one is concept of beauty, which like this one's really, I did this in university when I was in university. And that one with pretty much we thought they were like in bikinis. We had no idea what that was about, which is not about bikinis at all. But yeah. And then this last one is about your ego or your self-perception. Self-perception without an S. There you go. Grateful Llama. I love how these palettes give y'all funny names. I don't know why I'm anonymous. I'm logged in. Whatever. But Grateful Llama says Western culture. All right, I'll give y'all like about maybe 2 minutes about these and stuff, and y'all make some comments and stuff. What do you think? Or how can it impact a classroom or a workplace where there's different cultures at play? Life is different, says Grateful Llama. These are really kind of fun to try out with students, especially I do them with university students. And one lady I trained in Thailand, she did it with her high school students. Um, and just explain like how different people see different things or see things differently, how they act, and how that can cause some troubles. And then sometime later this year, I'm going to be doing something about culture and its impact with EAP classes. And I think we're going to look at these a little bit more, from a little bit of a different angle. Um, but yeah, oops, sorry, I need my phone for my timer. All right, cool. So that was about 2 minutes. Let's go back out to the PPT. Oop, let's see somebody put something in chat. Mhm. Okay, great. Cool. So let's talk about these. So this is pretty much the boss or authority. Now, in the West, we tend to like it where the boss is more friendly. You can approach them more like a friend, right? And the boss likes to be seen as one of the guys, one of the group. You want to reduce that power distance. So not and same with a teacher. Teacher usually we don't like teachers who are very authoritative, very I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong. If you guys watch Matilda, the one movie with Danny DeVito in it, the principal of the school is very much like that, and nobody likes her. You want to be more friendly. So we like friendly bosses, we like friendly teachers. In the East, the boss is definitely the boss. They are head and shoulders above everybody else. There's a big power distance. You don't talk if the boss is talking. You usually don't talk until the boss talks to you. It's just like everybody scared of their boss, and the boss does not care about the people, the peasants pretty much around them. That's pretty much what it's like. Um, and then of course I come out to, Westerners come out to China and stuff, and that does not work well for us. So a lot of foreigners get into trouble because um, we're very laid back. I will sit with my students. I will sit with them in class, and whereas most Chinese people will be a bit at the front, and they're always in charge. Um, and it's very authoritative, very, I'm right, you're wrong. I know everything. So with that as well, you also have students who are expecting the teacher to know everything, whereas here we're like, we don't know everything. We're not perfect. We're just like you guys. So that's the thing at play. Perception, self-perception, the ego. Um, I one time got in trouble. I'll tell you why over this one. I got reported by some of my students. It was a misunderstanding, really. But pretty much this is what you think about yourselves. So in the West, I am big, I am strong, I am the best. I can do anything and everything. I can save the world. Very cocky, pretty much. You can say cocky. In the West is in the East, most folks are very, very, very humble. They don't think very highly of themselves. And I'm just a small person. I'm just a small little cog in a big, big machine. I'm just a little fish in the ocean. That kind of very humble, very meek kind of personality. I think I did one time I kind of said that this was like if we know Trump, how Trump talks when he does press conferences or whatever. He's we are the best country. We have the best people. We know everything. We are the best. Uh, very, very, very confident in himself. If you see she's very humble, the president of China. Very, very humble, very, very quiet, doesn't draw much attention to himself. Um, I said that one time in a class at Shanghai University, and one student reported me because like, oh, you're talking about politics. I'm like, dude, if you can't talk about that, then you're having trouble in life. Anyway, only problems. In the West, we are if there's a problem, we want to fix it. Just do it now. Um, The East tends to be more about we will kind of go around the problem. We'll kind of try to maybe ignore the problem. We'll take some time and think about it. Usually it's not a very big problem, and usually problems go away without you don't have to do nothing about it. Um, Very different in the West, where like we see a problem, we want to fix it. We think we value ourselves as fixers of problems, especially the US, especially America. Yeah, just we're very Nike. We just do it. Cool. I keep seeing people comments. Cool. All right, and concept of beauty. This was the one that really confused me and my classmates when I was in university, whenever I was 20 or so. Because we were like, we focused on the bikini. We're like, oh, so people in the West like white bikinis, people in the East like black bikinis. No, no. The idea is the color of your skin. So in the West, most folks like to be tan. We have this idea of being tall, dark, and handsome in the West. So you see lots of people on the beach. If they go out to the beach or whatever, they will tan. Or you see people who will pay money just for tanning salons. They'll pay money just to get a tan, or they'll pay for a fake tan. In the East, however, they really like fair skin or light colored skin. So you see lots of girls with umbrellas. Or here in China, you see people wear full sleeves and masks to cover up their face so they don't get hit by the sun because they don't want to get dark. Now, with that kind of idea of what's beautiful and what's not beautiful, then you get into a dislike of people of a certain color. So most people in China don't like being dark, and they see being dark as like not attractive. And so that comes to problems like if we have somebody from the US who's black, or somebody from Africa who comes out here who's black, or something like that, then there's a thing where like, oh, you're not very pretty because you're black or because you're dark skinned. And that leads into racist kind of things for us. Same thing in the West. Back in the day, people didn't like you if you were too pale because you were sickly, stuff like that. Okay, great. Now that we're done with those kind of East meets West, the infographics are kind of cool to try out with students and stuff. You can use whichever ones you want. Some people don't like using the bikini ones. I think the bikini ones are actually quite interesting. Now let's go into intercultural miscommunications. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at an example of one, and then we're gonna go back to a Padlet and look at a couple. But pretty much what these are, there is some kind of misunderstanding between people of different cultures, and then you pretty much read what happened, you read the scenario, read a little story about it, and then we think about, what happened, why was there an issue, why is it an issue? And then what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again and stuff like that. So here's one. Oh, these are all either true stories. They all either happened to me or I've heard about them from other friends and stuff like that. So this one happened last semester at my university. So Raya, that's not her real name, but she was one of my students. She's an international student from Nepal. She's studying at my university in China. She recently got to China, and thus she has very little Chinese. She can't read it, she can't speak it. Mid-Autumn Festival, which is a big festival in China, in the middle of the fall, around the middle of the fall, is coming up soon, and the Chinese staff prepared mooncakes for the international students. So everybody gets a mooncake. Is given one. It has the flavor on it, but the flavor is in Chinese, and she can't read it. She just takes, whatever she's given and says, "Okay, cool, thank you so much." Her English teacher, which is me, from the US. I see her, I check it for her, the Chinese, and I see that as beef flavored. So she got a spicy beef flavored, actually, mooncake. And then I tell her to go back to the Chinese staff and ask to switch flavors. And I go with her to talk to the staff about, hey, she needs to switch mooncakes. Now, with that, here are some questions about why it happened. Okay, so she's from Nepal. What might be her religion? Is she maybe Christian? Well, maybe. Okay, so we can't assume like 100%, but we can probably guess that she's probably this. Is she maybe Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist? What do we think? Oh, I see somebody put something in the group chat. What we got? Nope, not Buddhist. Not Buddhist or Muslim. Nope, not Buddhist. Haha. This is so much fun to play with people who don't know. Because of course, if everybody knew, it wouldn't be no fun. Ha, ha. She is Hindu, so she's Hindu. So she believes in the Hindu gods like Ganesha and stuff like that. So she's Hindu. Now, do we know what kind of dietary restriction Hindus have? So what's something that Hindus cannot eat? So for example, Muslims can't have pork, or some other kind of things that they're not allowed, that they're not supposed to eat. What can Hindus not eat? Hindus cannot eat. I saw three group chats. Bam, bam, bam. Yep, they can't eat cows. Cows are holy for them, so they can't eat beef. They're sacred. Cool. Now, other religions have food restrictions. So we know, like, Muslims can't eat pork, stuff like that. So then pretty much I went back to the Chinese staff and explained, like, hey, so she's from Nepal, she's Hindu. Of course, I didn't know for sure. I asked her later. I'm like, hey, are you Hindu? Just to make sure. Cool. So you can't eat beef. So let's go and change this mooncake that you're about to eat, a sacred animal for your religion. Go back and tell the Chinese staff, like, hey, she can't have beef. We have another girl from Kyrgyzstan who's Muslim and she can't eat pork. Just watch out for this kind of stuff. If you don't know, ask. So we need to consider people's backgrounds, their preferences, their restrictions, all that kind of stuff. Cool. All right, cool. So this is where, like, if we were in class or if you guys want to try this out with your students, you want to do this kind of thing, kind of like what we did earlier. Each group's going to be given a intercultural scenario. You want to discuss what happened, similar stories that you might know about, why it happened, what can be done to overcome it, try and make sure it doesn't happen again. What can we learn from it? And, most importantly, as, we're teachers, what can we teach our students about it and stuff? And then you have them prepare a presentation, give them time to prepare to make the presentation for however long you want it to be. And you want to make sure you give time for them to ask questions and stuff like that. Oh, nice little Power Rangers this time. Cool. Same thing as before with, put them in groups. A will go with H, C with F, D with E, G with B, whatever, for, a couple minutes or however long you want it to be, and then they switch and stuff like that. Um, We're gonna go back to a Padlet, and I think I have four of them listed. Cool. Where are we? There we go. Cool. All right, so there's a link for the Padlet. There's a QR code if you guys want to scan that real quick. And let's go check out this Padlet. All right, and we're gonna be with this one this time. All right, great. So instructions. So for this one, just comment on what you think is going on. Why was there a miscommunication? What can we teach our students or others about this in order to avoid such instances in the future? And do you have anything similar? Okay, great. So there's four of them. These first three pretty much happened to me somehow, and then this one's I've heard from friends. Okay, great. So I'll give you guys about maybe 2, 3 minutes to read through those. You can make a quick little comment and stuff like that. Okay, great. Now I need to take a little break. I'll be back. Alrighty, let's see how we're doing. No likes, no comments. Ah, come on, you guys, you're killing me. Let me talk about some of these then. So this one, Muhammad and U.S. holidays, that happened to me when I was teaching the U.S. Indian English and Curry, that happened whenever I was teaching at Shanghai University a couple years ago. South Africa and the UK, that's my wife. That happened to her. She's the Chinese person, this story. Um, I think this happened before we met, like maybe a year before we met. She's gotten better with it. Oh, there's our timer. No touchy. Okay, cool. So that happened to me sometimes. That's happened to me a couple times in China, and then some of it I've heard from friends and stuff that live out here, that work out here and stuff. Okay, cool. So because we're only got 15 minutes left, let's hit back and kind of summarize some of these. All right, cool. So South Africa and the UK. So pretty much as my wife, I'll go ahead and we don't need to synonym or whatever that anonymize it. But pretty much she worked with foreign teachers. She went to go pick up two new teachers from the train station, the airport, whatever. I think train station. There's a black lady. She knew that there was going to be a one woman from South Africa, one woman from the UK. She goes to pick them up. She sees a black woman, a white woman. She thinks the black woman's from Africa. She thinks the white woman's from the UK. No, it's the other way around. It's a white South African and a black British lady. She was very, very confused. All right. Now, with that, what can we teach folks? Color ethnicity doesn't equal nationality. That's still a problem in China and some places around the world. Don't assume that white people are from Europe or Australia or the US, Canada. There's the idea of white countries. No, there's black people in those countries too. There's yellow people in those countries. Don't assume that black people are from Africa. There are some, but then there's also white people in Africa. There's also like kind of South Asian folks and Asian folks in general in Africa. Yeah. Try to teach students about diversity in countries. That's really cool to do for me in the US. Of course, we have Black History Month, so you can teach them about King and Malcolm X and all that stuff and Rosa Parks. But yeah, very cool. All right, Muhammad in the US. So pretty much it's me. I was working at a school in the US. I had a student from Saudi Arabia. His teacher was like, he doesn't know any American holidays. He doesn't know Fourth of July, Halloween, Easter, Christmas. He doesn't know any of that. All right, like Fourth of July, uh, stuff like that I can understand because it's an American holiday, but like everybody knows Easter, everybody knows Halloween, everybody knows Christmas. Um, So the problem is like, no, this is a perfect example of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is you think your ethnic group or your people are normal and everything else is weird. So for me, like, barbecue sauce is totally normal, but then I come out to China, people eat, there's soy sauce everywhere or vinegar everywhere, or there's no knife and fork, there's just chopsticks, which there are knives and forks, but you get my idea. That's just weird. That's ethnocentrism. So thinking that your way is the right way and everything else is wrong. Um, what do Easter, Halloween, Christmas all have in common? Y'all tell me in the group chat real quick. What do they all have in common? Easter, Halloween, Christmas. Anybody? Nobody? Nobody? No. They're all Christian. They're all tied to Christianity. Of course, Christmas is pretty much celebrates the birth of Jesus. Easter is whenever Jesus came back to life. Halloween is also tied into a kind of a Christian kind of thing, actually. It's not as much now, but it used to be. If you guys know Dia de los Muertos, it's kind of similar to that. That's how it started. But now it's become his own different thing. So Muhammad's from Saudi Arabia, so he's probably Muslim. Probably. Probably. We're not totally sure, but probably. So he's probably Muslim, so he probably doesn't know much about other religions. I mean, Saudi Arabia they're on a different year, actually. So what can we do? We can teach Muhammad about our holidays. And of course, the wherever country that he's in. If he's in the US, teach him about US holidays. Cool. But you don't want to tell him that your holidays are wrong and our holidays are right. You don't want to do that. Um, Also, we can learn about his holidays and his culture. That's really cool. That'd be cool for him to share that with his classmates, to tell them about Eid and stuff like that. And then he can share that with other students. That's really cool for them. All right, great. Indian, English, and Curry. So I had a class, it was a cultural class actually. So how different, there's different accents and dialects and stuff. And one of my students, Chinese students, was like, we don't like Indian English. It sounds like curry. I'm like, whoa, Indian English sounds like curry. I'm like, that's so racist. Like, whoa, that's so oof. Okay, great. So that's incorrect and that's racist. That's so racist. English is the official language of India. It's one of their official languages. It's the language of their government. Pretty much is what they're taught in most schools and stuff. They are native speakers. All accents and dialects are meant to be equal. None are better or worse. So my American Southern English is no better than a Cockney accent from the UK or Indian English. There's none is better technically. Some people prefer them, but really we're all the same. And your accent, your dialect's part of your local culture. So me being from the South, I say y'all and reckon, and even the way I write is a little bit different. You can't really see it all the time, but there's sometimes where I have a little bit of a Southern accent in the way I write. Um, and some places will try to make me not do that. I really don't like it. There's some journals that I try to publish in, and the journals will only want you to write in British English, and I'm not writing in British English ever. No way. I'll try not to sound so Southern, but I'm not gonna sound British. Forget about it. It's part of who I am. So you can relate this to local dialects or accents, and there's also those in China. So that kind of helps out. It's just relating it to something local, and then the students will kind of understand. Okay, no touchy. Cool. So this one is really like sensitive and stuff because lots of people like to ignore this kind of stuff, but I think ignoring it does not doesn't help anybody. So pretty much a lot of folks will come out to China, and if you're a different color, if you're black or if you're white, and if you're a bigger person, you get a lot of stares. Black people get stared at a lot. I get stared at a lot. I got stared at today by some old man that was like, "Oh, foreigner." I'm like, dude, I've lived in China for 10 years. I'm taking my kid home from school. She goes to school across the street where your grandkid goes to school. Like, bro. Anyway, but yeah. So some of the young students are kind of curious and they will touch us. They'll touch your body, they'll touch your hair. I've had people rub my arm with my hair on my arm. And they're in university. They're university students and they'll still touch the hair on my arm. Like, why? Um, with stuff like this, you'll hear da, 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 folks saying black. She thinks that she hears people say the N-word. We'll explain that later. There's a preference for white teachers. That is true. That is very, very true. Yeah, anyway, let's talk about a couple things. Foreigners get stared at a lot in China. Lao Wai means foreigner in Chinese. I got stared at today by some guy and called a Lao Wai. This is especially true for black people or bigger people. I'm quite big. I have a beard. I have tattoos. I was walking home with my little daughter today, so I got stared at by some old guy who's not from this area. Like, dude, like what? I live here. Anyway, people might touch us, take pictures of us. Not as much me recently, just because I've been in the same area for 2 years now, so most folks know who I am by now. But yeah, that will happen. That does not happen in the West. People don't take pictures of other people. People don't touch other people. That's kind of harassment. And it's a good way to get in a fight. Many people prefer white teachers. And it goes back to that idea of what's beauty. And also in lots of media, black people get a bad rap in lots of the media and stuff. Yeah. The idea of fat and ugly is different. So for us in the West, like you can be a chubby person, but still be really pretty. In some places, just being fat is ugly. Fat equals ugly. It's not the same for different cultures and stuff. All right, now this one's kind of interesting. So in Chinese, this is naga. Both these are naga. Or if they say really quick, they can use it as a thinking word, like so like that in English, and it's pronounced nigga. Okay, and that sounds like the racist word in English. Now, a professor at Southern California, University of Southern California, got fired over this because he was trying to explain different thinking words in different languages, and students heard him saying that one, the nigga nigga nigga, which is how they say it in Chinese actually. And students got upset because they thought he was being racist, and he got fired over it. Um, so yeah, but then that's a thinking word. It's like in Chinese, and of course people come out here and they hear that and they think you're saying the N word, the racist word, which you're not. So that's a very different kind of thing going on. So what we can teach, acceptance of different people, of different colors, shapes, sizes, from different regions, religions, nationalities. Just accept different people. People are diverse. Don't touch people. This right here says Lawai. No, don't feed us, don't touch us, don't take pictures of us. Mindful of the Naga nigga word in Chinese. I'm still working on that with my wife, like whenever we're around our black friends and stuff. I'm like, that sounds like a racist word. Or really, when folks come out to China, I can't explain, like, hey, there's this word in Chinese. It sounds like this, but it's not that. It means something else. Just stuff like that. All right. Now, I think we only have a couple of minutes left. Yep. So I'm just going to run through some other topics that I teach in my intercultural communication classes. And I have materials for this. If you guys want materials, just reach out. But yeah, so there's stuff about dining habits, food taboos, and stuff about, rules while you're eating, what kind of dishes are okay to eat, what's not okay to eat, food, how utensils should be used or not used, what do you do with leftover food, seating arrangement, who eats with who talks, all this stuff with eating habits and stuff. And it's not just about food. It's about how people act while you're eating and stuff. And the seating arrangement is quite interesting and stuff. All right, family roles. Are sons and daughters treated the same? This is very fun to talk about in China because lots of people say yes at first, but then when they really think about it, really they're not. My wife is not the same as her brother in her parents' eyes. Never will be. Never will be. They have my in-laws, my wife's parents. Now they have four granddaughters and one grandson. That grandson is always going to be the top for them, always. And he's the second youngest. No, it doesn't matter. He's a grandson. Great honor. Stuff like that. Is there equality between men and women? Yes, no. Why not? What's the role of the mom? What's the role of the dad? How are the grandparents treated? That's really different in different cultures. How are children treated? For me, with how I treat my daughter, I treat her just, she's a person. She falls down, I tell her, get up. You need to be tough. My wife babies her a lot. I think she babies her too much. Try and make her tough. Gift giving is really fun. So should gifts be open in front of the person that you give them to? Do colors or numbers have different meanings, mean different things? What kind of gifts should not be given? That's really fun, especially in China. What kind of gifts should be given are good gifts? When do people give gifts? Do you give a gift back? Who gives to who? Is there certain rules where this person does not give to this person and why? All kind of stuff. All right, let's wrap up. So with culture is more than what different cultures eat or they celebrate or they wear or they worship. It's more than that surface level culture of what we can see. It's about how different cultures communicate and act. Not just the US has Christmas and people give gifts, but the US celebrates Christmas and why we celebrate it, how we give gifts, who gives them, who gets them, why. Also, not everybody celebrates Christmas in the US. So trying to break those stereotypes. Some people don't. And not just Chinese people use chopsticks, but the seating arrangement, how food is given to others, the speaking at the table. So usually the people of higher power or higher authority will talk first and have better seating arrangement. All right, final word. So now we know more about culture differences that we might encounter in our classes. We know more about communication and that has a unique from other aspects of culture. The main thing is just be patient, keep an open mind, open heart. We should be able to overcome any difficulty we face. Communicating, trying to understand each other will help us improve our collaboration between, not Chinese, local and foreign staff or local and foreign students in our cultures. and help us prepare our students, ourselves for international intercultural world. Sweet. Okay. Oh, some useful resources. This book is really good. It's by Don Snow. He's a professor at Duke Kunshan University. That's really great. This is my blog. My blog has lots of my intercultural stories and stuff. And this is Yang Lu, the East meets West lady. This is her website. Cool. So those are all really cool and useful things. All right. That's it for me. I saw I had a comment. Sweet. Thank y'all so much. Here are my socials. There's my Facebook, there's my Instagram, there's all my stuff, my blog, whatever. Okay, cool. And I'm done. I think we only got a couple minutes. We have 1 minute. Ha, so sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Michel.
Yeah.
Great. So there is only one question in the chat
Okay,
box.
great. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So it says, what are some common cultural misunderstandings teachers should be aware of when teaching English internationally?
Okay, yeah. So let me think. It depends. So a lot of it depends on where you're coming from and where you're going. So a lot of stuff in the US. So for me teaching in China, a lot of folks will think everybody from the US is rich, everybody from the US is white, everybody speaks English, those kind of things. Nah, that's not true. I'm not rich. I grew up in a very poor farm area. Not everybody is white. Not everybody speaks English even. So trying to keep those things in mind. Then of course you have different stereotypes about different people of different colors. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's an idea of like, oh, you have to be a native speaker of English to have to be a good teacher of English. No, you don't. You're fine. My Spanish professors at my university were Chinese. So it's very interesting having two people, they were a married couple, two people from China teaching me Spanish in the US. I didn't think anything about it. I didn't care about the whole native speaker thing, and I never heard about that until I came to China. Um, so yeah, so that's a myth as far as I care. But yeah, cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. And huge thanks to you, dear Michelle, for doing this amazing webinar for us. And we really appreciate English Without Borders team, your time, the way you made everything so clear and engaging. So thank you so much. And dear audience, thank you for your joining and for being with us. And thank you for investing your time for yourself on this Thursday webinar together with all the English teachers. Thank you so much. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, have a nice evening,
Yeah,
all of
I'll see
you.
you guys
Thank
later.
you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. If you guys have questions, just reach out or whatever you want anything.